lunch, anyone. Jessica had always admired her boss, Mr. Carter, his sharp mind, his impeccable style, and his commanding presence had captivated her from the moment she joined the law firm. She'd often catch herself daydreaming about him, imagining their lives together. But she knew it was a fantasy, a forbidden desire she could never act upon. He was her boss, after all. Despite her secret yearnings, Jessica had managed to maintain a professional facade. She was always polite, always efficient, always eager to please. But inside, she burned with a longing she couldn't suppress. One evening, as she was leaving the office, she overheard a conversation between two of her coworkers. They were discussing a recent case, and one of them mentioned Mr. Carter's impressive relationship with a new client. Jessica's heart sank. She'd always assumed he was single. That night, as she lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling of jealousy. She'd never felt so hurt before. It was as if a part of her had died. Now do me a favor and hit the subscribe button to help me get monetized here in YouTube. Thanks. Part 2: The Forbidden Encounter. The next day, Jessica arrived at the office determined to put the incident behind her. She buried herself in her work, trying to distract herself from the painful thoughts. But as the day wore on, she found herself feeling increasingly restless. She decided to take a break and went to the copy room to grab some papers. As she was leaving, she saw a familiar figure standing in the corner. It was her coworker, David, and he was kissing another employee. Jessica's heart raced. She'd never seen anything like this before. She watched in shock as David and the other employee continued their passionate embrace. Then, just as things were about to get steamy, she heard a door creak open. Mr. Carter had walked in. Her heart pounded in her chest as she turned to face him. He looked surprised, but there was also a hint of amusement in his eyes. Well, he said, I didn't know we had such a lively office. Jessica felt her face flush with embarrassment. She quickly grabbed her papers and hurried out of the room. As she walked away, she glanced back. Mr. Carter was still standing there, watching her. And for a moment, she thought she saw a mischievous glint in his eyes. From that day forward, Jessica noticed a change in Mr. Carter's behavior. He seemed to be paying more attention to her, and he often caught her eye with a knowing smile. She couldn't help but wonder if he had seen what had happened in the copy room. As the weeks went by, Jessica found herself fantasizing about an encounter with Mr. Carter. She imagined him taking her in his arms, kissing her passionately. It was a dangerous fantasy, but she couldn't resist the temptation. Hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe.